You said it was forever. You didn't have to go out like that. But we had some good times. Yep, I remember.
I've been thinking about my options, every detail in my head, but it doesn't really matter, nothing matters, so I cry.
Oh wait, I need a font. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. For those who's new, my name is Christian and I'm a plant killer. I'm just kidding. We're all plant killers, whether you're just starting out your houseplant journey or you've been at it for a while, and pretty much this is what this video is going to be about. I'm going to share with you guys 12 plants of Killmas. That's right, I went through a list of all my plants that I've gone throughout the years and I figured which plants did I kill this year. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, you know, you're a crazy plant guy, you should be amazing at caring for plants, but the reality is, and the truth is, I still kill plants to this day, you know, whether it's me forgetting about them because I was paying too much attention on my newer and fancier plants, or maybe it's because I wasn't, you know, experienced with these types of plants and they just ended up dying on me, or maybe you just weren't able to give them the right environment, whether it's a lack of light, or maybe humidity, or maybe it was the houseplant pest's fault. Regardless what the reasons are, I'm going to share with you guys 12 plants I killed this year and also share with you guys why I think they died on me. So without further ado, here's our 12 plants of Killmas. We'll start with the CALATHEA RUFIBARBA, also known as the furry feather, and it's a CALATHEA, so its only point of existence is to die on us, but I'm just kidding. Honestly though, when it comes to CALATHEAs, we all know they're extremely fussy. They're very, very difficult to care for, especially when you don't have the right environment for it. And I know eventually how this plant died on me. I just didn't have the consistent humidity levels that it required. I also didn't have my greenhouse at that time when I got it, and you know, I wasn't probably using the right water. They do prefer a bit more of the distilled water and their soil to be consistently moist, and it eventually went brown and crispy and then went to plant heaven. So I'm not surprised it died on me because again, it was a CALATHEA. But I think given where I am now with my greenhouse and just understanding humidity levels a bit more, I think I would definitely try CALATHEAs again. That particular plant I would definitely try because I did like that plant. The texture of the plant was pretty cool. It had that furry, fuzzy feel to it, and it had that deep purple back on it as well as the green foliage. So really cool CALATHEA, but yeah, it's gone to heaven now. So the next one on the list is the PENNYWORT. Now, if you guys recall this plant, I also got it earlier in the year, and it was my second time getting this plant. And what I like about this plant is it just looks so cool. It's apparently like a weed in most places, but I love the circular shape of the leaf. It almost looks like a lily pad, and it's adorable and it's cute, right? But when it comes to PENNYWORT, they require the soil to be consistently and always moist and even almost borderline wet, if that makes sense. And they don't do well when that soil dries up pretty quickly. Once it dries up pretty quickly, it's very hard for them to bounce back. And how I kill this plant is I went back home to Winnipeg, I think, for about 4 or 5 days. And normally, most of my plants, when I travel, you know, can go without being watered or being cared for about 7 days at least, most plants. With this one, it did not like the fact that I was gone for 4 days. So when I got back, it was pretty much dead. No way of bringing it back, and it went to heaven. So there was my PENNYWORT. Again, cute, adorable plant. Now, will I try this plant again? Maybe now I would, only because we're not traveling right now, but I think when things get back to normal, I probably wouldn't have this plant again, only because I know how much water it required and how quickly that soil dried up, because I do get a lot of light. Even though I took it back further away from the light, it still needs a lot of that bright indirect light, but also got to make sure you don't allow that soil to dry out completely for long periods of time. So who knows, maybe one day again. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but you know, Christian's got to pay some bills and get some more houseplants. So first up, we got our Crazy Plant Guy houseplant coloring book. It's an interactive coloring book that features 50 of my houseplants are line traced, so you can create beautiful artwork. Each houseplant comes with a QR code that you can scan using your mobile phone, which will then take you to my website that has a lot more information about that houseplant, how to care for it. It also includes some videos and images that you can use as a color guide, and I'm so happy to share this with you guys. I'm also going to be hosting a once-a-month color and sip night where we're going to choose a plant, we're going to hang out on Zoom, we're going to color, we're going to chat, and we're going to talk all about that plant. So yeah, really excited that this is now out. It's available for purchase on Amazon, so I'm going to provide a link in the description below. As always, thank you guys so much for your support, but before we jump back to the video, here's another ad for you guys. So the next one on our Killmas list is the variegated English ivy. Now, English ivy, I like them. They're beautiful. They trail really nice. Unfortunately, like calatheas, they are pretty much spider mites magnets, so it did get attacked by spider mites and other pests, and eventually, even though I tried to eradicate it with, my insecticide soap, I just couldn't get rid of it. I brought it outside. It was doing well in the summer, but I didn't bother bringing it back in during the winter, so it eventually died on me. But English ivy, again, would I ever have that plant indoors? Probably not, because I already have so many plants here that attract certain types of pests that I just don't want to. It's not my favorite trailing plant, even though it's beautiful. They're really affordable, and they're great, again, trailing off a bookshelf or, even like a console center, but I don't think I would ever have an English ivy again. So that is that. Now, the next two plants on the list are TRADESCANTIA. So one is the Nanook and the other one is the Yellow Hill. The Nanook one I got very, very small and very beautiful. I love the colors. And you guys know I love TRADESCANTIA. They're just beautiful plants. And with this particular one, I think it died on me because I forgot about it. And the soil dried up pretty quickly, and it was very hard to get it to bounce back. I was dropping leaves after that. And I tried propagating it as well, but the propagation didn't do well. It wasn't rooting well. So eventually, it just died on me. Now, the Yellow Hill, another beautiful TRADESCANTIA. I love the colors on this one. I actually got a few of them. But what happened with this one is I repotted them in a big pot where I wanted to mix all of these 4-inch plants together. But the pot was way too big, right? I think I put in like maybe an 8-inch container, and I watered it. And when your pot is too big for the plant, it's gonna experience some root rot. And eventually that's what happened. I overwatered it because it wasn't drying up too quickly. The roots were just so small for the plant size and the container it was in. Eventually it died, right? And that's one thing I gotta keep in mind, especially when it comes to repotting, is most people assume you need to get a pot size that fit kind of the top part of your plant, when you should really think about the root size of your plant in terms of how to find the right size for your plant. So you got to look at it based on the roots, not necessarily based on the foliage of that plant. But yeah, so those are two plants that were added on the Killmas list. And would I ever try these plants again? Absolutely. I love TRADESCANTIA. The Nanook is beautiful, Zebrina is beautiful, and the Yellow Hill is very beautiful as well. So if I ever find them again, I would definitely try again. And now I know what I did wrong, and I got to make sure I obviously avoid those mistakes again. Now, the next one on the list is the Philodendron PULCHRUM. So I think it's one of my first ever like uncommon or imported type of plants, and I found this actually at an orchid show earlier in the year, and it literally was from I forget what the vendor was, but they were from like Ecuador and whatnot. It's a beautiful plant, and you guys can see here it had this massive beautiful leaf, and I loved it. But when I first got it, it was literally just in the plastic bag, and the roots were just wrapped in like paper towel and a bit of sphagnum moss. And I didn't really understand these types of plants. I didn't really understand how to care for them. All I assumed was it was a philodendron. Just make sure that your potting mixture is, high in nutrients, but also well draining. I didn't really understand the concept of like acclimating plants. So it eventually died on me. It experienced a bit of rotting, and I tried to stop it using like cinnamon. It didn't work, and then at that point the roots weren't growing. I had it in a potting medium, so it just eventually died. I think I overwatered it, the leaf fell off, and all I was left was with this stump that had no roots, and at that point I didn't know what to do with it. Now, if only I knew what I know today back then, that plant would be thriving right now, because like I said, I never understood how to acclimate those types of plants, or how to use like humidity and create like a humidity box to help grow the roots, or even use sphagnum moss. I think if I have that plant right now, I would definitely pot it in sphagnum moss to try and grow those root system, and then put it in a greenhouse or put like a plastic bag over the leaf and over the plant to try and trap that humidity. I think that plant would be beautiful and would be thriving. It's a beautiful plant because I loved it because of the giant leaf it had, but yeah, it died on me. Nonetheless, it was definitely an experience, a learning one to that. And would I try that plant again? Absolutely. Especially now, knowing what I know today, I would definitely try that plant again. But yeah, so that was the Philodendron PULCHRUM. So the next one on our Killmas list is the Philodendron BIRKIN. I had so much issues with a lot of my philodendrons, and the BIRKIN was one of them. It was during the time the silver sword, the melanochrysum, and the BIRKIN, I got them all around the same time, and they were pretty much like just dying on me. I was able to save the melanochrysum, like you guys know, and the silver sword. The BIRKIN, unfortunately, I wasn't able to save, and what eventually happened with that plant is it got a lot of like thrips on it and aphids, and I went through that experience. I tried to get rid of it as much as I can, tried to repot it and clean it out and wash it out with insecticide soap. I did everything as much as I could. Eventually, I got so frustrated, I just threw it out. I didn't even wait for it to die. I just was like, you know what, forget it. There's so much here right now. I don't even, it's probably spreading on all my other philodendrons, so let me just get rid of this hose. And yeah, I threw it out the garbage. So I murdered that plant. It didn't die on me. I murdered it. So actually, no, it was the damn thrips that started it. It was their fault first, and then I pretty much just said, okay, let me help you guys out, and let me throw you in the garbage. So that is that. I feel exposed. I feel like I'm sharing all my dark secrets with you guys, but nonetheless, like I said, we all experience killing plants, whether we intentionally do it or we unintentionally do it, but you all have done it too, so don't lie. I'm just kidding. So the next one on our 12 plants of Killmas is the Croton Victoria Bell. So this plant I've had for a couple years, and I actually featured this plant in one of my videos over the summer about 10 houseplants that are my least favorite, and it's because they weren't doing so well. And I had a goal there to try and make it, you know, thrive again and see how I can care for it. And what eventually happened with this plant is last winter, obviously there was lack of light, and crotons need a lot of light. The leaves started to drop, so come spring and summer, I said, let me try and see if I can bring this back to life. I brought it outside because I get a lot of nice direct, you know, south-facing sunlight. But I eventually forgot about it, and it got so crispy and so burnt that it just died, and there was no way of, you know, getting it to bounce back because the root system and the main stem at that point were pretty much like fried. So that is why that plant no longer is with me, which kind of sucks because it is a beautiful croton. I love crotons partly because they just add so much color to your collection, and that one is pretty cool because it had a pretty cool like leaf shape, and then at the end of it had this like bell circle part to it. So anyway, yeah, it's gone to heaven now. So the next one on the 12 plants of Killmas list is the CPUT or CTUT. I forget what it's called, but I'm gonna post a picture here of what it looks like now or what it looked like back then. And it was one of those plants that had more of like a caudex base, which I like. You know, I love my Philanthus mirabilis, my Stephania recta, the Eusdora elephantes. Those are beautiful plants, and this one I really liked as well because it had almost like a croton part of it when it comes to the foliage, but the base of it was more of that caudex type. And unfortunately with this one, I wasn't too sure how to care for it, even though I read the instructions. You know, you water it like, you know, when the soil is just starting to dry out, but it wasn't planted deeply in the soil. It was mostly just sitting on top of the soil, and I wasn't sure if, you know, it was getting water or not. So I would like drench it and soak it, and then I would forget about it, and it was getting a lot of bright light, and then eventually it just died on me. There was no way of bringing it back. It got so crispy and so brown that I was like, oh man, it's gone. So I don't know if I would try this plant again, because I heard this particular plant, like they can live like on top of the ocean or in the water for like years. So maybe it was just lacking that type of watering where it just needed to be consistently moist, but it was getting a lot of bright light. You know, it was during the summer and it just got fried. So yeah, bye-bye. Just kidding. Oh man, I feel so bad. Okay, next one on my list here is the Maidenhair fern. And ferns are tricky, you know, like I don't own many ferns. This was, I think, one of my first, and I really like this particular fern because when you look at it, it's so beautiful. Like the way the leaves are just, it seems so light and airy and like whimsical, and it's just a beautiful plant. But it's a fern, and ferns require a lot of humidity and that soil to be somewhat consistently moist. And again, I didn't have my greenhouse at that time. I didn't have my humidity running, you know, all day long and whatnot. So it got crispy, it browned, and it eventually died. I actually tried to save it when I got my greenhouse, but then I got all these other beautiful plants and I needed to make room for my greenhouse. So then I kind of just left it out of the greenhouse, and yeah, it went bye-bye. So that is my fern. Would I ever try that plant again? I think so because it's a beautiful fern. Like I've seen pictures of it where it's like massive and it's gorgeous, but I think I need to get a couple more greenhouses to just make room for it. But yeah, so that is that. So the next plant on our Killmas list is the Peperomia watermelon, and this is a beautiful Peperomia. I actually had this plant for about a couple years. I also did feature this in the 10 least favorite houseplants with the intention and the goal of trying to save it this past summer. Unfortunately, it did not make it. And when I first got this plant, it was actually in a very full 6-inch container. It was massive. And then about halfway through the year, I decided to split them up. and repot them into their own containers. I think I got about like 4 plants out of it. And since I did that, they all started to struggle and I couldn't keep up with it. And eventually I was down to just a stem and a couple of leaves, which then I was trying to revive again. And I think what ended up happening with this one, it was my inconsistent care for it. I was watering it when I finally noticed that, hey, it needs to be watered, and then I would forget about it for like weeks. And then I would like do it again and drench it in water, and then I would forget about it. And eventually it just wasn't consistently trying to develop the roots and then grow foliage. And you know, it was so bare, and at that point, sometimes when you look at a plant and it looks like that, you're just like, okay, I think I'm just gonna watch you like wither away and, you know, go to plant heaven. So that's exactly what happened. Yeah, so that plant is gone. Would I try this plant again? You know what, I think I would, because I do like peperomias. I think they are one of the most underrated plants. But is it my favorite peperomia? Probably not. You know, I love the parallel. I think they're great. The string of turtles is also a great one, and the frost. So I don't know if I would have this in my collection, given that I have so many plants right now and I already have a few peperomias. But nonetheless, it's a pretty cool plant. And yeah, so that is that. So the last plant on our Killmas list is the lipstick plant. Again, another plant I featured in the 10 least favorite plants. And this was a beautiful plant when I first got it. It was trailing, it had so much blooms, and I remember, I think I've had this for about a couple of years before, again, it passed on. It was blooming constantly for me, and it was beautiful. But similar to my Dieffenbachia or the Croton, it experienced a bit of that, I forgot about that plant, and it just withered away or dried out so much where it was very hard to bounce back. It was dropping a lot of leaves. I also got attacked by a bit of like thrips on it, so I tried to treat it as much as I can, tried to care for it. Again, I brought it outside during the summer to try and give it as much more light, and eventually I forgot about it. So what can you say? It just went to heaven. So man, I feel so exposed right now, but like I said, we all do it. It happens regardless what experience you have. I think the most important thing is just to learn from what you did wrong or what you did right, and obviously apply that the next time around. But yeah, so there you guys have it. Those are the 12 plants of Killmas that I did this year. Comment below and let me know if you guys have killed any plants this year. Which one do you regret killing? Which one were you happy about that they were gone? But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.